Welcome to Gavel. I'm your host, Cobb District Attorney Vic Reynolds. We're very honored to be back in the studio with our partners here at TV 23 for the 7th installment of Gavel. This is a show about the criminal justice system in Cobb County. And what we try to do on this show is to educate and inform our viewers about a system that remains a mystery to most folks. In the past installments, we've taken a look at how various court systems work, the probate court, the juvenile court. We've taken a look at what happens if you're a victim of a crime in Cobb County. In the future, we'll be taking a look at things like probation, how that system operates, what happens when you're called for jury duty, things that may affect all of our viewers at some point in their lives in the future. Today, we're going to take a look at a very interesting subject, accountability courts. It's a form of alternative sentencing that's being used in superior courts, not only in Cobb, but in various other courts around the state. In order to do and look at this subject today, we're very honored to have as our guest Ms. Kim Schwartz. Kim is an assistant district attorney here in Cobb County, and I have the honor and pleasure of working with Kim day in and day out. Kim is a native Cobb Countyan. She's a double dog, got her undergraduate and law degree at the University of Georgia. Her father was a very prominent lawyer here in Cobb at one time, and so we're very honored to have her. She's our accountability ADA and handles all these situations in Cobb. Kim, thank you so much for joining us on Gavel, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Let's tell the viewers a little bit about what is an accountability court, how it started, and what the theme or goal is behind such a court.
The accountability court started around 1989 in the Miami-Dade area. A judge down there recognized that he was seeing repeat offenders in drug cases, and he recognized that the core issue there may be substance abuse addiction, and that's why he saw people over and over again. He decided to try something different and offer people treatment rather than immediate punishment for their crimes.
Well, you know, when we think about sentencing in a regular court system, we've talked a little bit about it on previous shows. You think about either locking somebody up based on what they've done or placing them on probation for what they've done. Accountability courts look at things a little different, don't they?
They do. We're trying to use a different tool to protect the public. And as I said, we feel like we're getting at accountability courts more to the core issue, which with our drug court, which we started back in 2002, was substance abuse. It's a voluntary program. The people that want to pursue that rather than the traditional court system, they're agreeing to an intensive treatment schedule of individual and group sessions. They're drug tested very regularly. They have to get a GED if they don't have one. They have to secure a job. As I say, it's a very intensive program, but if they're able to complete it, generally it runs 18 to 24 months, then they may receive a more favorable sentence. Some of the people that have never offended before may avoid a felony conviction, and people that would really have gone to prison would avoid a prison sentence.
Well, you know, one thing that we've learned in the system, and admittedly it's probably taken us too long to learn or at least admit this fact, is that people with substance abuse issues are not going to stop using drugs, alcohol, things of that nature, simply because we put them in jail. When they're released, they're going to go right back to that situation. It looks like accountability courts, and let's start with things like drug courts, really work to go to the root of the problem as opposed to simply punishing a person. Is that a fair statement?
It is, and you know, what I see is we send people off to prison and we hope they'll get some drug treatment there, or we send them off to private facilities out of our community and we hope they'll get treatment there. But when they come back to the community, many of them pick up with the same friends and go to the same places where they abused drugs before. I think the real strength of our drug court in particular is it's a community-based program, and people remain in their homes, they remain at their jobs if they have one, and they learn how to make new relationships, develop new support systems, have new skills so that they can be successful immediately upon being released from our program.
Well, it seems to be that these accountability courts teach life skills that if some of us are blessed and fortunate enough to learn them from the beginning, from families and loved ones, and other people need a little bit of time to learn them. But let's talk, since we know what an accountability court is now, let's talk specifically about our county. I think you mentioned a moment ago, was the drug court the first accountability court we had here in Cobb?
It was. It was started back in September of 2002 by Judge George Krieger, and he has been really the presiding judge over it ever since. And we saw the strength of that program, and I'm grateful that when you came on as district attorney, you recognized how successful that program had been, and agreed to start the mental health court, and now we have the veterans court.
Yeah, we'll talk about those two in just a moment. Let's focus a little bit on this drug court. Is it centered toward people who perhaps distribute or sell drugs, or is it primarily geared toward people who use drugs, who have an addiction issue?
It is primarily geared towards people that have an addiction issue. Occasionally people will fall over into swapping drugs with their friends maybe. What we also see too is drug crimes don't just stay drug crimes. Often people that are on drugs commit thefts, they commit burglaries to fund their drug habit.
Of course. Well, let's give the viewers an example. Let's say that they have a loved one who is perhaps an addict and who ends up being arrested in our county for a felony drug amount. How would an individual go about applying or getting into our accountability drug court?
Well, our defense attorneys are really our first line of screening for drug court. I think they've become familiar with it. They've seen prior clients be successful in the program, so they will refer a case to us. And then when they do, they fill out an extensive application that comes to me, and I screen that application to make sure that they don't have any violent felony offenses, that they're not charged with any serious major crime. If the person appears to be a good candidate, then I send that on to our team. We have a whole team that consists of our drug court, which involves the Circuit Defender's Office, of course the judge, probation, the Sheriff's Department, and we have treatment providers. So that person is typically interviewed about their substance abuse past. The Sheriff's Department contributes any information they have about their criminal history, and then as a team, we decide whether or not to accept the person. If they're accepted, then we schedule a plea, and they plead guilty and enter our court.
So that individual is still taking responsibility for what he or she may have done, but they're being offered this program that hopefully will not only help them in the long run with maybe avoiding a criminal conviction, but more importantly will teach them these skills to where they will not be back into the system. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's always that hammer out there of the sentence hanging over their head, that they could be sentenced or they could have to serve a prison term, but it gives them a chance to rehabilitate themselves. And actually they have to take a very active role in that. They're not just sitting in a prison cell. They have to do all the requirements of the program, which can be very intense, especially in the beginning of the program. But we feel like that's necessary, really, for them to get the skills and the coping mechanisms to avoid using drugs in the future.
I know you told our viewers a moment ago that the program, as a general rule of thumb, would last 18 to 24 months, somewhere in that time frame. Let's talk a little bit about the program itself. When someone enters the program, are we talking about counseling once a week, twice a week? What happens to that person who is accepted into drug court?
Typically, they're required to be in a treatment group or session about 4 times a week. They're usually drug tested at least 3 times a week. They also are required to go to community-based support groups that we're familiar with, like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. They're also subject to really punishment by the judge if they don't comply with the requirements of the program, and that can involve community service, or that can involve actually going to jail for a few days or a week if they violate the program rules.
Well, obviously somebody with an addiction issue, it's not like flipping a light switch on or off to stop using drugs. Let's say that somebody gets into the Cobb drug court and is marching along in the program, and let's say they mess up by having a dirty screen. Let's say that they reuse drugs. Would that in and of itself eliminate them from the program? Would there be some type of sanction against them? What would happen under that scenario?
There would certainly be a sanction against them, but it wouldn't necessarily eliminate them from the program at that point, because we realize that relapse can be a part of recovery. So there's some allowance made for that. I think the beauty of the drug court is that person is being very closely supervised and watched and drug screened, so that we see if they seem to be making the turn in the right direction. And you can almost see people make the turn at times, that they start to get it, they start to realize that the program is there to help them, not just incarcerate them. But it's a very personal decision, I think, whether people are ready for recovery and ready to make the changes that are necessary to not reoffend.
Well, I know you've seen firsthand some of the success stories from drug court. And before we move on to our other forms of accountability court. Let's say that an individual has completed the program, completed it successfully. What happens at the end of that program? Not only procedurally do they go through some type of process, but what's the benefit to that individual other than the obvious benefit?
Well, they graduate from the program. We actually have a graduation ceremony where they're given a certificate. Their family and friends can come to commend them on what they've accomplished. Usually the staff of the drug court makes comments to them because they've developed a relationship with these people at this point, and they've known them and they've seen their ups and downs, and they also often have some words of pride for how the people have done in the program.
Okay. Well, I know those graduations are moving ceremonies, and the judge and you as well as the staff really brag on those folks, and it's a neat thing to see. It's a neat thing to watch somebody turn their life around and walk away from an addiction issue. And at the end of the program, is there some short period of time where they're under a maintenance program as well, just so you all can check and make sure they're doing what they ought to do?
It depends on their sentence, but some of the people are under a period of probation afterwards, and we definitely track and monitor them to see if they reoffend. That's one of, I think, the bragging points of our program, is it definitely lowers recidivism rates.
Good. Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we return, let's talk a little bit about some other forms of accountability court that we run in Cobb, all right? Thank you for watching Gavel to Gavel. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this break. Thank you.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun. Wake the sun.
Welcome back to Gavel. I'm your host, Cobb District Attorney Vic Reynolds. We're very honored today to have as our guest Ms. Kim Schwartz, who's an assistant DA in Cobb County and also runs our accountability courts. Now, Kim, before we took a break, we were wrapping up talking about our drug court. Let's talk about some other newer accountability courts that are online now. Let's begin with talking about our mental health court. Tell the viewers a little bit about that court and what the basis is behind that system.
Well, Judge Mary Staley recognized that we had a real need for a mental health court in the county. She began the court along with the team in May of 2013. What we, I think, have seen over time as our mental health institutions have closed, the promise was that there would be community-based services for them. The funding has not always been there for that, and so we found that more and more of the mentally ill people in our community are ending up in our jails. And they often spend a significant amount of time there because they have to get diagnosed and back on medication before they can even go to court and assist their attorneys in defending their cases.
Well, you know, having you and I have both been in some form or fashion involved in the criminal justice system for a little while, and I know that in private practice I would see clients who had mental health issues, and it reminded me of literally a hamster on a wheel. They couldn't get out of the system, and and frequently their offenses would sometimes be petty in nature, shoplifting or trespass or something of that concern, but they still just couldn't get out of the system. Tell us, the viewers, a little bit about when we talk about people with mental health challenges. We're not talking about somebody that's legally insane, are we? We're talking about somebody that has perhaps a bipolar disorder, something along those lines.
Yes. And a person definitely has to be competent to enter our court because they have to enter a plea to their charges. So they have to have that level of competence. But they do need to have a severe and persistent mental illness that we feel like is either caused or is contributing to their criminal behavior. Like you mentioned, maybe we sometimes see criminal trespasses cases or even burglary cases because our mentally ill persons are sometimes homeless. Sometimes they've really alienated friends and family because of their mental illness and because not staying on medication. So the idea was to close that revolving door to get people into the services that we already have available here in Cobb County through our Cobb County Community Services Board, who I think does an excellent job addressing the issues that the mentally ill have here in Cobb County.
I know we talked a moment ago when you were referring to the drug court about the team concept and the people, various agencies involved in that. Is the mental health court set up similar to the drug court?
It is. It has the same key players of the sheriff, probation, the district attorney, the circuit defender. But as our treatment provider, we have individuals from the Cobb Community Services Board who give intensive outpatient treatment to our participants 4 days a week here in Cobb County. We also have a member of their staff that works with the inmates in the jail because often the mentally ill stay in the jail a period of time before they come to our court. So we're trying to have an integrated approach with all the key players in the county that are affected by crimes committed by people with mental illness.
You mentioned earlier that drug court has done well. The track record is there, and we're very proud of that. How's mental health court doing since we were up and running in May of 13?
It's doing well. Each of these programs is set up where you progress through the phases of the program, typically 4 or 5 phases. Since mental health court is new, we're still having our first participants progress through those phases. We're hoping to have our first graduates this summer from mental health court. And I think individually we're seeing some really amazing stories when people get back on medication. I think Judge Staley does an excellent job in interacting with them and having just the right balance of sternness and kindness to them. So we're seeing good individual results, but what I'm seeing is that the mentally ill in our community really don't have a lot of resources, especially concerning housing and just general support systems. I think if there are individuals or organizations in our community that would like to interact with that court and do life skills training, I think that would be a huge benefit to the participants. We also, along with the punishment and the sanctions for not obeying the rules, the courts also like to give people incentives. And that can be something as small as a gift card to a coffee shop that Judge Staley will give to a participant just to tell them that they're doing a good job. Businesses, of course, could always contribute things like that, or bus passes for our participants. Some of them have such basic needs as clothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that's interesting if a viewer is watching this and individually or through a corporate environment, there's opportunities to get involved to help things like mental health court, and that's good to hear. Before we move into our newest court, Veterans Court, a court that we're very proud of, let me ask you some general questions about accountability courts and the view on simply running courts in various counties and systems. Does it appear to you that this is not only the wave of the future, that it's here now, and that elected officials, judges, prosecutors are looking toward accountability courts as truly a viable form of alternative sentencing? Would you agree with that?
I think definitely so. I think the drug courts have had such a good track record. I think statewide we're putting an emphasis on this. Recently, Justice Hugh Thompson, our Chief Justice, visited the Cobb County Veterans Court, and he observed, and then he invited the mentors from that program down to his State of the Judiciary address and honored them by having them stand during his speech. And he said what he thought a vital part accountability courts were going to be for the future of the courts, and he encouraged the development of accountability courts in all counties. Governor Deal has also been a big supporter of accountability courts, and I think that goes back to the fact that his son is a judge in Hall County, and he presides over a drug court and a mental health court. So the governor has actually probably heard personal stories of success concerning accountability courts.
Well, I'm very proud that this county is one of the leading counties for accountability courts is something that the DA's office is very proud of, and I know our judges are as well. Let's move into, as we wrap up the program today, let's move into our newest accountability court, and that's our Veterans Court. Tell the viewers a little bit about the basis behind that court and how it operates.
Well, the Veterans Court, some people ask, why do you have a special court for veterans? But I think they come from special circumstances. They've served our country, and I think because of the recent conflicts we've had, because of the frequency of deployments, we're seeing a lot of our military servicemen and women come back with post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injuries, sometimes substance abuse issues that started as a result maybe of their service and not really having anybody to process that experience with when they came back to the States.
Well, you know, we talked about mental health court we have a partnership with Cobb Douglas Mental Health, and we have various counselors who work in drug court. Is there anything unique about Veterans Court that may set it apart from other courts?
Yes. Judge Reuben Green set up our Veterans Court. He's a veteran himself. He's a Marine. And as part of our program, we have a mentor program. And it's been so encouraging to watch Cobb County veterans, men and women, come to our court every week. And they're paired one-on-one with a participant. And they spend time during the week just getting together with that person, checking on them, maybe driving them to an appointment at the VA. And I think it's just added a whole nother level to that court. And the court is doing very well. The participants are doing very well because I think they have the court staff, they have the resources of the Veterans Administration and our local vet center, but they also just have a friend, a fellow veteran, and that camaraderie and that military culture seems to really have a big impact on them and be a real encouragement to them to get back to who they were.
I know I had seen recently in some literature that I was reading about Veterans Court the unbelievably high rate of suicide among our veterans, and I know this court addresses issues of that nature, and I commend what you all are doing there. It's a great court. As we wrap up today, let's make sure, I want to make sure the viewers understand, in case there's any misunderstanding about accountability courts. The concept behind these courts isn't giving somebody a break or letting them escape from responsibility, is it, Kim? I mean, they're still literally held accountable for what they do.
They are. They still plead guilty to their offense. They're still subject to the sentence that we feel is appropriate if they don't successfully complete the program. They just have an opportunity to rehabilitate themselves. I wouldn't want anybody to ever think we're doing anything to take away from public safety. I think there are just different ways you can handle a case, and in some cases, this is the most effective because it keeps future victims safe, it keeps children safe in the home from abuse or neglect, it keeps people safe from property crimes, and it's just been gratifying for me personally to listen to the interviews of the people graduating from accountability courts, and they talk about the restored relationships, how their families didn't trust them, wouldn't let them in their home, but now they're in a position to care for and be a viable member of their family and of society. They're working jobs, they're taking care of their children, they're back being productive citizens of Cobb County.
Well, I know you have been a prosecutor in a couple of circuits. You've been with the Attorney General's office, and so you're certainly not soft on crime, and neither is this office. And to see these courts work as an alternative form of sentence has got to be gratifying to you, both personally and professionally, I would presume.
It really is. It really is. I really appreciated the opportunity to be able to serve in this position.
Well, thank you. And again, we appreciate you not only being a guest today and being with us on Gavel to Gavel, but appreciate what you do day in and day out. I have the opportunity of working with you, and I know you serve the citizens of this county well, so thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this show on Gavel to Gavel about accountability courts. I'm your host, Cobb District Attorney Vic Reynolds, and make sure that you tune in the future as we look at various other portions of the Cobb criminal justice system. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.
tasty smile. Reliable sources say that chicken soup has found their way out of this
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
Here we go. We're gonna make some juice.
It's gonna be good.
She's excited. A little bit of kale.
Please don't put this on line.
I'm putting it all over the line.
It's wet. It needs something. No, it'll go.
Don't break my juicer. Looks good.
You ready to try it?
Come on, baby.
Challenge your kids to be active and eat healthy.
It's okay.
Okay, all right.
They might surprise you.
Hey, she took another sip. You saw it?
Search We Can for more ideas on how you and your kids can get healthy together.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, swap snacks Sunday. All the healthy children eat well and move a lot. And move a lot. And move a lot. Eat well and move a lot.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day.
Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday.
Whole grains Wednesday, try a veggie Tuesday. Let's move Monday, split the sweet Sunday.
Eat well and move a lot. Today is Saturday. Yeah. Today is Saturday. All the healthy children, all the healthy children.
Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Lead paint poisoning affects 1 million children today. If you're pregnant or have young children and your home was built before 1978, you could be at risk. Learn how to protect your family. To find your home's danger zones, the health effects, or just to find help, log on to leadfreekids.org.
Thank you for calling your GED Pep Talk Center. All right, now, are you ready for your GED Pep Talk?
Being nervous is okay. It just shows that you're serious about getting your diploma.
All right, listen, we all need a little nudge sometimes. I don't function without coffee in the morning, but it is going to take more than a double mochaccino to help you here.
A lot of things are scary. Heck, I'm scared of clowns.
No quiero oír. Danny, no lo puedo hacer. Quiero oír. Danny, lo voy a hacer.
DMC, liking your pep talk style.
Just keeping it real, Debs. Just keeping it real.
Louder! Louder! I'm gonna get my GED! Come on! Get your GED! Hey. Can you keep it down, brother? Thanks.
Whatever motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Get your GED pep talk and find free classes at yourged.org.